And the waiter came out to the boat.
And the waiter came out to the boat with glasses of Prosecco and a tray of these little cicchetti, different, not a whole lot.
All fish, because fish is
They're all fish,
really big here. A lot
They're
of fish.
all fish. Not a lot, just a couple of each style. And there we were, sitting in the back of the boat like we owned it.
Yeah, you kind of acted like
the back
you
of
owned
a Rolls Royce or something.
Bob's become king since we moved here.
Welcome to the Knife Wife podcast. I'm Suz, married to Bob Terzuola. This podcast is about couples who live, love, and work together. And has little to do with knives.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Knife Wife podcast. Once again, we are recording in our hotel room in Venice, another episode. I have my partner in crime, love of my life,
Bob
Terzuola.
T.
Bob T.
Buongiorno della bella Venezia.
See, you know, if you've never been to Venice, I have to say I recommend it. I don't think my kid was a fan of it so much because it is a touristy place. But if you stay away from the Rialto Bridge and the St. Mark's Square, the rest of it is lovely. Every turn is a water-lined canal with a boat going of some sort going down it. We love boats, right, Bob?
I love boats.
Yeah, Bob is in his next life.
The boats that I really like are the Chris Craft type. They're the mahogany, beautifully made, very sleek, very fast, super maneuverable. I'm really amazed at how well they can maneuver these things. They go backwards and forwards and sideways.
Right, and the last time we were here, as we were cruising down the canal at nighttime, I remember you asking our captain of the boat where you could get an application for a job.
To be a taxi driver, a water taxi driver.
Yeah.
He laughed.
In one of those boats, he laughed, which it's not easy. It's just like getting a taxi tag in New York. It's not that easy. However, it looks like a fun job. And I said, Bob, you'd give up knife making and, to do this? You said, in a heartbeat. So anyway, so maybe in his next life. Anyway, so we're here. And we're going to talk a little bit about our time in Venice. We feel like one of those old travel logs, sort of, but I think people have enjoyed so far. I've had lots of comments from people about liking our Instagram feed and the Facebook feed, and I'm going to do a photo dump when we leave. I got a lot of great pictures. And I got a lot of great patterns ideas when I was here. One from the back of the gondolas. I don't know what that's called. Do you know what that's called?
The front of the gondola.
The front of the gondola. The prow.
I have no idea what it's called.
And what it represents, it's sort of like a curved arch, and then there are 6 straight tabs, and those are for all the regions of Venice. Anyway, I thought of a really cool pattern using that, so I can't wait to get home and get to work on that. Anyway, so Venice, I had big expectations, big plans for, walking all over. There's a print house here that had invited me to come and for a residency, and I didn't even go see them because, I blew out my knee about the second day we were in Italy, and so I thought, well, until I get new knee or new knees, I probably am not going to be back here, so I wasn't going to take the time, and it's very difficult for me to get around right now. Next time, or in a few years, I hope to come back there, and I hope to be able to print in their shop. Anyway, when we got here on Sunday night, the kids were with us, and our friends dropped us off. And as I said before, the people on the dock where we were going from the mainland in the water taxis to Venice, they thought our friends worked for the water taxi people. The Ruffiani.
The Ruffiani.
And they did not, but they helped us get on the boat, and our kids said goodbye, and our kids were going to be here on the other side of the island. They were going to be near the airport because they were flying out at the crack of their dawn. And so we didn't expect to see them anymore. I hugged them goodbye, and then we were sitting in the bar, which has become our favorite place of the St. Regis,
looking out at the Grand Canal and all the boats and the gondolas and the seagulls.
Yes, and the seagulls just waiting to pick a French fry or a cookie off someone's plate. And we watched one morning. It very stoically sat on a post and waited for these people to just get up from their table. The moment they pushed their chairs back, that seagull dove in and took that cookie. Took 2 cookies right off the plate.
He got there faster than the waiter did.
Right. Then the waiter came, but he was gone. But anyway, so the kids texted us and said, "What are you doing?" And so they came to our hotel. They walked to our hotel and sat with us for a while. And so we had a nice little private conversation because we'd been with the group the whole time. So it was nice to be with them alone. And we have to thank Richard Beller.
Richard Beller, thank you for this beautiful stay at the St. Regis Hotel.
Yeah, it's going to really be hard to go home to reality because who's going to bring me my coffee with a little cookie
Me.
and a monogram napkin?
Well, I don't know about the monogram now. I'll go find someplace, but basically I bring you your coffee in bed. You know that.
I know, but usually I get up for you these days, so I get my own darn coffee. But anyway, so thank you, Richard Beller. He made it possible for us to be here at a reasonable rate. And because this hotel is way, way out of our price range. But it's been really fun. It's been a real vacation for me. They pamper you and take care of you, and they'll do anything for you, which is, good luck getting that at the Ramada Inn or a Marriott in, the States. Anyway, this hotel, when we walked into it, not only did it have terrazzo floors and patterns that were just blowing my mind, mostly geometric patterns. But as I said, it's like a Wes Anderson movie. So when you walk in when we came in from the water side, there's a couple steps up and floating docks and things they have to keep washing off because it's been kind of windy and rainy and it gets wet. It's very dangerous, but they helped us greatly. And so we came in and there was all on this hallway to the front desk, there was beautiful original art and sculptures. And I mean, I was losing my mind. And I know the Biennale is going on now and they have a lot of galleries that are, have their art there for people to see. But it was above and beyond anything I'd expected. And so when we came to check in, well, there were 2 people at the front desk, and the front desk is a desk you sit at. There's no standing there with getting your key. Sit there. So as we were waiting in the lobby of the front desk, the woman who sat us down said, "Well, would you like tea or coffee or water or a glass of wine, something while you wait?" And we were like, "No, we're okay." Then we went to sit at the desk to check in. And again, would you like water, wine, coffee? We'd only been there a few minutes and we'd already been offered food twice. You're in
Very Italian.
Yeah, very Italian. Very
They keep
Italian.
trying to stuff you.
Yes, and I am stuffed. I am carbohydrated, even though it was all delicious. I probably have eaten more bread and flour since I got here than I ate in an entire year. So I'll be happy to actually go home and not feel so, I don't know what, full. But anyway, so the colors of this place are like a Wes Anderson movie. And there's this great room in the hotel that has probably 20 different seating groupings. And each seating grouping has a coffee table, and it has a coffee table art book on it. Well, they have some art coffee table books that I had never seen, like one about Whistler and his watercolors. I saw one about an Italian painter that our water taxi was coming and I didn't want to leave the book. Anyway, I didn't get through all the books, so I got to come back.
Okay.
Okay? No, you're not going to, buck me on that one. You like this place, right?
Yeah, I like this place.
Yeah.
I like this place a whole lot.
Yeah. And it's been, I don't know, like sort of Venice is back in time, but there aren't many hotels. This is what hotels used to be like. And there aren't many hotels like this left in the world where service and we came into our room and there was this huge bouquet of fresh flowers of hydrangeas and Japanese mums and pink roses, which I know I'm going to leave now. And every day I touch it and smell it and fondle it because, I'm such a flower person, such a garden person. So that was really lovely. And they keep bringing us bottles of champagne or wine and what's called a doge pane.
Yeah, the Doge was the Doge was like the mayor or the ruler of the city.
Right, and he has
And
a
they make
huge
these-
palace here.
Yeah, they make these breads which are about the size of a large hand outspread, and it's got almonds in it and candied fruit, and I think it's basically like a kind of a soft ginger cookie.
Yeah.
A little bit of ginger
A
in
little
it.
powdered sugar on top.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're wrapped up with bows, beautiful silver bows, ribbons. I kept a ribbon. I put one of them in my
Okay.
purse. I'd like to know where to buy more of these to bring home to everybody. Normally, I bring home stuff for everybody when I travel. But this time, I could not really shop because I couldn't really walk. So we did go in the wheelchair for a moment down the street from our hotel, and I was able to get a pair of Dolce & Gabbana sunglasses, and we got some Venetian glass. So I'm happy about that.
Yep.
But we didn't really shop, and so it is what it is.
Apologies to everybody else that we're not buying anything for, so you're just going to have to
do.
enjoy our trip here on the podcast.
Right. And so, we're leaving a world of hand-stitched lapels on jackets. And we're going back to Viore in California, where everyone's dressed in workout gear. And it's, for me as a costumer, when I saw these white gabardine wool jackets with the hand-stitched lapels and the matching ties and scarves and the pocket squares of that just matched the whole hotel. And then other people have on, the women who are kind of, I don't know what they are, greeters, maitre d's, I don't know what their title is. They have on little short cream-colored jackets that are with tails, and they have a light blue cummerbund and a pink shirt and cream-colored pants or dark blue-colored pants against these beautiful cream white gabardine jackets. Anyway, I'm telling you, as a costumer, this is could drive me out of my mind.
Yep.
And so I haven't, missed a thing. The eye that never sleeps has been very, very busy. So here we are. And so on day 2, we went on we didn't have much planned, and I didn't want much planned here because being in Maniago and the hotel we were in was very Euro hotel, very basic. They didn't even have glasses in our room. Simple. I mean, it was comfortable and everything, but to come from a mattress that was something like a cardboard box with a cover on it to being in this luxury bed that you don't want to get out of the bed.
Yeah.
Big change, but I knew that we would be tired from Maniago, that would be a lot, so I didn't really plan a lot. But I did book with one of our favorite tour gals, Lo. Her name is Lorenza. She's from Venice, lived here her whole life. She gets us. She just gets us. One, she knows that Bob loves the brown wooden Chris Craft boats, so she picked us up for the Cicchetti tour in one of those boats. And the guy that was driving the boat, she said he'd been a driver for over 40 years. This guy looked like Tony Soprano's button man.
Yeah.
This guy looks like he could drop you.
His name was Gigi.
His name was Gigi, which she told us not to tell him that our dog was named Gigi. We could tell him.
But I did tell him that my godfather's name was Gigi.
Your patron.
My padrino.
Padrino. This is
padrino.
Oh, patron is Spanish, sorry. We've had a lot of Spanish-Italian crossovers here. Anyway, so this guy was the tough guy who smokes a cigarette the whole time. He could drive a boat going, I don't know how many knots, 10 knots, and smoke that cigarette and never miss a beat. I had all these little movies going in my mind of him dropping people in the lagoon off the back of his boat. Anyway, and it was very rainy. It was about to rain. And so what we did was dodge the clouds, right?
We did. We went around the clouds.
Yes, and so we went around. We went out past the Pronto Soccorro, the emergency room at the hospital. Here. I learned something about Venice, that I kept seeing ambulances everywhere, and I thought, what are these people sick? What's happening? People falling down? What?
Ambulance boats. Remember, everything is a boat.
Right, everything's a boat. So I thought, what is going on? And of course, if the ambulance is pulled up, just like anywhere else, they have priority, so you can't bring another boat in until the ambulance leaves. And I learned that if you can't walk, which would probably be me right at the moment, that if you have to go to the doctor or you have physical therapy or something, that the ambulance boats drive people all over. They drive all the old people. And let me tell you, there's some people in their 90s, a lot of people in their 90s here that are looking pretty darn good. I think this way of life suits them. So anyway, so we found out that those are free. And here, you were paying for water taxis. And I'm like, maybe I should have called them. But no, I won't. And so we went on a cicchetti tour, which if you don't know what a cicchetti is, describe it, Bob.
It's basically the base is like a piece of toast or bread, usually toast. And then there's all sorts of, they're like hors d'oeuvres. You could call them hors d'oeuvres. And they have...
they're like tapas, sort of.
Tapas in Spanish, yeah, hors d'oeuvres in French. And they have stuff on top of them. And it could be a sardine with I think there were stewed onions. I'm not sure. It was kind of a...
Sautéed onions.
Sautéed onions. Lo explained that this is kind of like the food that the fishermen eat.
Yes.
The sardine with the onions on a piece of bread. Very tasty. Or a piece of salmon, or at one of the restaurants, just a chunk of mortadella, which I love, and a pepperoncini, which is... what would we call it? A banana pepper or not really a jalapeno?
A banana pepper, more of a banana pepper.
Like
it's
a banana
sweet
pepper.
It's a sweet
kind of hot, not super hot, and vinegary. Really good, all very tasty. And the first place we stopped at, Susie and I, we were sitting in the back of the boat.
And the waiter came out to the boat.
And the waiter came out to the boat with glasses of Prosecco. And a tray of these little cicchetti, different, not a whole lot.
All fish, because fish
They're all
are
fish,
really big
yeah.
here. A lot
They're
of fish.
All fish. Not a lot, just a couple of each style. And there we were, sitting in the back of the boat like we owned it.
Yeah, you kind of acted
like the back
you
of a
owned
Rolls Royce or something.
Bob's become king since we moved here.
Yeah.
Since we got here.
Yeah.
And so we went to a cicchetti place that I'd gone to 20 years ago. I went there 10 years ago with my daughter, called Schiavi. And I heard about it from Tony Abeda, who is a New Mexican artist, who's also on Antiques Roadshow. If you watch Antiques Roadshow, he's on all the time as one of their appraisers, moderators, whatever. And he told me about this because he lived in Venice for a year or two and painted, and you can see it in his the colors of his paintings, especially from that time. He lived above this place, and this place has been there forever. There's a picture of the grandparents on the wall, so I think it's probably been there 100 years. And so the guy that is in charge of it is the son. And when I met him, he was a very thin, tall, dark-haired, had a beard, this very fine-cut beard, good-looking guy. Good-looking Italian guy. And when I saw him this time...
Like most of us.
Oh, yeah. And this time when I saw him, he's gotten gray, and he's got put on a couple pounds, and he's running the joint. The mommy makes the cicchetti. And, what they make in cicchetti a day, they make it once a day, and they only make whatever they make, the amount they make. You can't order anymore. So whatever is in the case is there. So as we were walking in this place, which I think is the best place in the whole, it's in the Academia neighborhood, their cicchetti is by far the best I've ever had. And so people are waiting in line. It's a very busy place, and it's a wine shop. And for winos, I'm telling you, you can find some wine there that you can't find other places. And I took a little video of it, and I'll post it on social. It's, anyway, very special place. Of course, you stand up Most of the food here, except for dinner, you stand up. Your coffee comes in a shot, right? You're taking a coffee place with a little sweet something, and you do shots standing up. And then they were doing shots of Prosecco. And of course, all the rage is the aperitif drink with the orange April. It's sort of an orange liqueur. It's bitter like Campari, and with bubbly water. And that, that's all the rage now.
Not one of my favorites.
Right, but we've seen this before. I mean, this is not the first time. This is just the second time it's all the rage. So all these people are drinking these orange glasses of stuff, Anyway, they look like they're having a great time. Anyway, so we went to Schiavi, and we were pretty full when we left there. And I knew we didn't book dinner for that night because I knew we were going to have all these cicchettis, and it's gone bread, most of it. A lot of people don't, when they eat the cicchetti, do not eat the bread. The bread is just a plate, and they take the stuff off of it. And I started.
Not me.
Yeah, I started doing that because it's just too filling with all that bread. But anyway, they were delicious. And so while we were dodging the rain, our tour guide Lo knew that I loved the Bridge of Hands, and the Bridge of Hands is a sculpture of five sets of hands, different hands that you used to be able to drive under in a boat here. What I think is funny is that they've moved it to a remote location. Like they punished Quinn for some reason, and they moved it to where the Arsenal is. And it's all about peace, love, and unity. And it's on the canal. It goes right between the two Arsenal buildings, and that was not lost on me. But we went up to it, and I could see it. And as we drove away, I made a video which I posted on Facebook and I think Instagram of the wake of the boat and the Bridge of Hands in back of us. So they're hands that are from elbow up, clasped. Or fingertips touching, or there's a child's hand and an adult hand. There are 5 different sets of hands, and
Coming out of the ground.
coming out of what appears to be nowhere,
Yeah.
making a bridge.
Making a bridge. You could walk underneath them, kind of supplicating up to the heavens.
Sort of. You can't walk underneath them. They're over the canal, and you can't even drive. They've blocked it now. I don't know why, and I don't know why they put it in that remote area. But many years ago, when I was here during the Biennale, Quinn has always had these hand sculptures. You've probably seen them on social media, coming out of the water, these giant hands that are 30 feet tall, holding onto a building. Anyway, he's Anthony Quinn's son, and let me tell you, I think he got the bulk of the talent in that family. He's an incredible sculptor, and he just loves Venice. I don't think he's from Venice. Anyway, so that night after we had our Cicchetti tour,
It started to rain.
it started to rain, and we came back to the hotel, and we went to our favorite spot in the bar overlooking the Grand Canal, and Bob wanted some dessert.
And I wanted some cannoli. And I asked the waiter, and the waiters they're so helpful, A young waiter, name was Alessandro.
We met a lot of Alessandros.
Met a
I think
lot
he's
of
about
them,
the 5th one we
including
met.
our Alex.
Uh-huh.
And I said, I would like a cannoli. He said, well, we don't have cannolis
Right.
here on the menu.
And you know why they don't have cannolis on the menu? Because cannolis are not a Venice thing. That is not a Venice thing. So I was a little hesitant when he said that because I thought, you're going to offend these because Italians are very specific in their food. No, they are very specific. You are very specific with your food, right?
Yes.
Right. So then I laughed about the cannoli because out of the famous movie, there is the line.
The line from, remember the movie?
Yeah,
The Godfather.
Yeah.
Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Well, Bob was all about that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
And you got to understand, cannoli is kind of like peasant food. It's not the kind of
uppity Venetian food.
super, it's not the kind of decorated dolce or sweet or dessert that, the chef puts together with great care and, an extra raspberry and cream and this and a little green sprig of something, I don't know what, just fancy.
Right. So
That's not fancy.
The
It's
waiter
peasant
went
food.
back to the kitchen, and as it would be in the St. Regis Hotel, well, one of our customers wants to have a cannoli. Well, they didn't have any, but the chef sent a message to Bob and said,
We'll
come
have
back,
we'll have them tomorrow.
come back tomorrow
About
night and
after
we'll
dinner.
have them. So we did. But before we get to that, and so I have to say that the staff here in every way has been amazing. They warm my cream for my coffee. They warm it up because they wouldn't want me to have cold cream and hot coffee. Oh no! And they only pour half a cup, no matter what they do.
Yeah.
And then I fill it up with a little silver tea coffee pot, which I love. And then they bring me warmed milk because you can't have cold milk. Anyway, so then on the next day, we went to somewhere. I had booked these tickets for this craft show, thinking I was going to go to the Biennale one day. And then the next day, this was a smaller craft show, I thought, and fine art craft, not just, no crocheted Bert and Ernie's. No, this was the highest level. Glass, woodworking, knives, metalwork, silversmithing. There were some artichokes that were made out of sterling silver that were unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I had booked this ahead of time, not knowing I was going to blow out my knee, but I was determined to go to it. And I said, well, let's see what happens. You were supposed to be able to walk and see all of the craftsmen, as well as go over to Murano and see some of the glass houses, which we've done before. But I knew that wasn't going to be possible. But there were 3 buildings of exhibitions. So when we got to the Homo Faber, is that correct? Homo Faber?
Yes, that's what they call it. Homo Faber.
Which is like fabrication.
Man's craft or
Right,
man's
right.
fabricating, yeah.
And it's on the island of St. Giorgio in this beautiful...
It was a monastery. It was an
Monastery.
ancient monastery.
Yeah. So when we got there, and we got the wheelchair from the hotel, put it into the boat, the water taxi, got us into the water taxi, drove to there, got the wheelchair out of the water taxi. There was nowhere to tie up when we got to where we were. There actually was a place to tie up, but our driver didn't see it. I was trying to hold the boat against the dock so Bob could get out, and the driver said to me, "Let go of the boat, madame." He was afraid I was going to fall in. He didn't know I had some boat experience. But anyway, so we did get out, got in the wheelchair, a little gravel, parts of it, very uneven pavers that are
It was a challenge.
It was a challenge, but Bob pushed me, and then there was nice decking and planking through the exhibit, so that was easier.
Uh-huh.
And so when we got to show them our tickets, they said, "Oh, well, you're going to have someone go with you to help you through things and tell you where the elevators are." And I don't know, we never got in an elevator, but anyway, we could have when we went up those stairs where those paper trees were. Remember the paper trees
Yeah.
and flowers? But I said, no, I think we can make it. So this young guy, another Alessandro, showed up. Looks like a movie star, and they all had on something that really interested me as a costumer. They had these pink and white sort of Oxford cloth untucked shirts, and then they had a version of the pink and white shirts that were like shirt jacks. They were quilted, so because it's cold here. When it's not sunny, man, and the wind's blowing, it's pretty chilly here. It's no different than Chicago on the lakefront. Same thing. So these guys all had these puffy coats on, and I bought a coat in Montiago because I've been so cold. I now own a ski jacket, which I will never need in California, but you never know where I'm going after that. Anyway, so they were so helpful, and Alessandro came with us, and he wasn't allowed
To touch the wheelchair.
they didn't want to be sued, I guess. So, but he did. We're not telling.
There were some bumpy places and conduit ducting that made it a little bit hard to push and get over. And he kind of looked the other way and grabbed the edge of the wheelchair, and I pushed and he pulled.
Right.
And we got her over.
Yep, you did. And it was I have a new appreciation for people in wheelchairs because you're down low. And I also have a less of appreciation for the French who were there to see the Biennale and whatever, and they don't care about people in wheelchairs. So it was a very vulnerable place to be and different perspective in life. And I think I will have even more of an appreciation if I see a wheelchair coming or whatever to be helpful and get out of the way. But so we went into this beautiful building. I mean, these buildings at this monastery, they don't make stuff like that anymore. And the first thing we saw were under big glass domes were knives.
Oh, it wasn't the first thing, but yeah, we first thing that we really recognized, they had these bell jars, I guess you call them, glass bell domes, and they had several of them, and each one had maybe 6 or 7, usually fixed blades, a couple of folders, made by people around the world, a couple of UK makers, an Australian, and a couple of knives made by a friend of ours, Antonio Fogarizzu, who we know from the Milan knife shows.
Right. Anyway, so I want to know how those other knife makers got their knives there. And I think we should apply for you to send a knife there for another time. I think that yours aren't as artsy, but some of them were simple, but the steel was what was forged or fancier.
Yeah.
But I think you could do something that would fit.
Probably.
Nothing like Figorizzo. How do you say his last name?
Fogarizzu.
Fogarizzo. I mean, that's an art knife. Anyway, so we were surprised to see the knives, but delighted. And of course, Alessandro did not know why we were so interested in knives, so I explained to him what Bob does, and then he was really impressed. So then we went into the first exhibit, which had glass and ceramic and paper. Silver, beautiful sterling silver. And they brought someone over to explain to me, what this was. And he was a young man, and I could tell by his stature, by his hair, that he was an artist. And I said to him, I understand what this is. I said, what do you like the best? And he was shocked that I asked him, what do you like the best? And he pointed to overhead, there was a film of all the craftsmen. And the ceiling had been domed, but they had faceted the ceiling as a projection area. So in every part of the facets was a different artisan making something that was on the tables in front of us. And the tables were mirrored glass that were, I don't know, how long was it? 30 feet long? 40 feet long?
At least.
Anyway, I never saw so much mirrors. Anyway, perfect for the display. And so I said to him, are you an artist? He said, yes. And then I explained to him I was too. And before I knew it, he'd gone in the back and gotten out a sketchbook and was showing me all the sketches he'd done from around Venice. And he's not from Venice, but he goes to school near Venice. And he's working there for, I don't know, a few months as sort of a docent. Anyway, they had blue and white striped shirts on. And so he and I hit it off. I gave him my card. I got his Instagram. I'm following him on Instagram now. He was a delightful young man. And then we had to go because our water taxi was picking us up in a short amount of time, which we probably didn't allow enough time. But I just didn't think we would need that much time because of my limited mobility. But anyway, so we went and saw other things. There were 3 buildings total. And then we were joined by another colleague of Alessandro. Do you remember his name, Bob? I can't remember his name.
No, I didn't.
Big, tall, dark-haired guy. Anyway, so they were helping us to get back to the water taxi. And so they literally took us in a reverse of the way we had walked through. I rolled through. And out to the side of this windy, cold Venice day. And I said, he'll be back at, 12:30 to pick us up. And they were watching their watches, and they were lovely. We really had lovely conversations with them. And sure enough, at 12:30, the beautiful brown Chris Craft boat came around the corner, and the guys held the boat against the dock so that we could get in and out. There was a couple places to tie up, but other boats had already used those. So when we went with the wheelchair back to our hotel, and, riding the water taxi, I know for you, Bob, and we've said it, is really fun.
Yeah.
It's
pretty bouncy, too.
Oh, very bouncy. Oh, yeah. We had some water. And there's wakes of the big water buses and other speedboats. Occasionally you'll see a a teenager in a boat, and it's just a very modest boat. And it's a lot like a teenager in America when they get their first car. Same thing. They got music blaring. They're driving through the canals. And so they make big wakes when they're speeding around Venice. Anyway, so that we came back. We had a lovely dinner at a restaurant last night, which was called
La Caravella.
which is a boat.
It was the ancient sailing ships that things like people like Magellan
Right.
explored the world on a caravel.
Right. So we still had one more stop to make, which was back at our hotel because cannoli were promised to Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, Alessandro, the other one of many, was our waiter again. And he said, "Oh, I'll go back. The chef has them ready for you." So we sat down, and I didn't want them. I'm not a dairy girl, so I'm not going to eat them. I'll pay for it later. So Bob was brought out these, and he said, "Oh, I bet it's going to be a big cannoli." And they went down the street and got it. We saw some at a food, where you buy a sandwich or whatever. We saw some, and I thought, no, they bought those from somebody else. That's not a Venetian dessert. So out came these beautiful, tiny little handmade cannolis. With
6 of them.
6 of them. So Bob had 3, and then he brought the rest back to the room, and he had them with his coffee this morning. Did you finish him or no?
No.
No, you couldn't finish him. Yeah. Anyway, I did taste the cream. The cream had pistachio and I don't know what else. They had some
Chocolate, a little bit of chocolate.
and had some liqueur in it too.
Yeah, something. I don't know.
Anyway, they were beautiful.
But they were great.
Yeah. And of course, all the desserts, all the pastries here are served on top of a napkin. I'm not sure why. The grease? I don't know. There was no grease on the napkin.
Because you just don't stick them on a plate. Otherwise, they'd roll all over the place.
That's true. They are round. They would roll. So anyway, so we had our last evening. Bob had another espresso. He's had more espresso here than he's had in a year, I think.
Yeah.
You love it.
They're really good. Except they don't fill the cup up.
Yeah, well,
You only get half a cup.
This is Italy.
And they're small cups.
Yep. Well, they do shots of espresso. I told everybody the first time I ever came to Italy and I saw people in the morning, getting their espresso. They were in glasses, shot glasses, and they were doing shots of espresso. And I think it's more of a medicine. And of course, cappuccino, you have only before noon. And Bob has that at breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's on to, at 10 o'clock at night, he's down in shots at espresso, which if I did, I'd have to record another podcast in the middle of the night because I'd be up all night. Anyway, so that was our last. We have one more water taxi today. We're going to the train station. And the train station is a beautiful train station in Venice. And we're going up to Milano for 2 more nights, see our friends Steve and Fausto. The train station with all our luggage. We got a couple bottles of champagne they brought us, which I put one in a suitcase, Bob put one, and they really added to the weight of the suitcase. So it's going to be it's not going to be easy. We'll have to get a porter, but getting on and off the train is going to be
a challenge.
Anyway, so we have one more water taxi, and then we're back to the mainland and back home again soon. I'll be happy sort of to be home. And not. It's been, I hate to leave this hotel. I could get used to this kind of living. Could you?
Yep. Very much so.
Yeah. So, but reality awaits.
And our dogs.
And our dogs. Oh, and every dog, because we've been without a dog, every dog we see.
We want to pet it. We want to say, hello.
Yeah.
We miss you.
Yeah. There was a corgi last night coming home for dinner. We just about I was about jumped out of my wheelchair to go pet that dog. Anyway, it's been a long time away from the dogs. We really miss them. Anyway, so back to Milano.
Yep.
And it'll be fun. We're going to see Steve. We'll see Fausto and Libe tonight. And tomorrow night we'll see Steve and family. And then Friday morning, Air Canada takes us home. So for now.
Goodbye.
From Venice.
Arrivederci.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for listening. If you like what you're hearing, please share this with a friend and subscribe where you listen to podcasts. Please support our efforts through Patreon at TheKnifeWife. And for all Terzuola goodness, go to terzuola.net. And remember, if you're not laughing, you're not living. Comments and questions can be made on Instagram at TheKnifeWife Podcast or our Facebook group, The Knife Wife Podcast. And if you're a couple who work together and would like to be on our podcast, tell us about yourself with an email at eccentricsuz.com or terzuola.net.